Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkie and Drury, brought to you as always by our friends at Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel, our friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, and of course the Listowel Squash Courts. And it's coming into the Christmas season now. We're recording this November 30th. You're going to see this for the first time December 1st. Christmas is in spirit, and we figured it's a great time to check in on the local junior hockey scene. And who better to do that with than the voice behind our local junior hockey scene here in Midwestern Ontario, our friend Steve Sabourin. Sabby, how are you, brother?
Hey, man, I'm pretty good. Johnny K sends his regards. He's on the road tonight. Wanted to join us, but unable to do so. But he says hello.
Yeah, well, hello back to that guy and I'm not surprised to hear he's on the road. You guys are always on the road, running from Hanover to Kincardine to all over the place, covering our leagues here, of course, the GOJHL, Listowel Cyclones, and of course the PJHL Pollock Division, which now, of course, features the Fergus Whalers. We'll chat a lot about that in this episode, but we have breaking news as we record this. We've got, and what a day for Clarkie to miss the show, because he would have all kinds of takes. His Toronto Maple Leafs are not going to be acquiring Nikita Zadorov because the Vancouver Canucks have gone and jackknifed that deal. A 2024 fifth and a 2026 third rounder. That's all it took to get Nikita Zadorov out of there. The Vancouver Canucks say thank you very much after moving Anthony Beauvillier to Chicago to make room. We all figured they were doing something. We didn't know it was going to be this. But in terms of what this means for the Maple Leafs and that very banged up defense core, Sabby, what does this mean? Because this to me looks like nothing short of a failure by Brad Treliving and his team. We all thought this guy was coming to Toronto, and now all of a sudden he's on the West Coast.
Well, did Toronto have any rounders to give up after the last few years?
I mean, if this is all it took.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like they had a whole lot to offer, and they didn't have a lot of cap space either. Puts them in a bind for sure, and you go back and look how, I guess, when you look at the big four contracts, how much it has handcuffed the Leafs in the sense of to get any sort of depth. It's like they're going to have trouble down the stretch if they can't solidify something soon on the blue line.
What's confusing too, right, is that the timing of all of this, Dan Milstein, Zadorov's agent, tweets out the night they played Toronto a couple weeks ago, he wants out. And there was really no secret that he kind of apparently wanted to go to Toronto. And keep in mind, Brad Treliving is the man who brought Nikita Zadorov to Calgary in the first place. And so then you sit there and you consider John Klingberg, his money is on IR now. They put his money on LTIR. He's got that hip issue. No one knows if he's going to play again. I believe that freed up about $4 million. So this could be looked at by a very frustrated Leafs fan base right now, because the team's not playing very well, Steve, as a bit of a ball drop by the new GM.
Yes, but I mean, you got to remember there's other GMs out there that they're working. I mean, It's just not that he didn't have the deal by himself and then lose it. I mean, there's other guys working as well. So he just got out GM'd for this deal, and they'll have to move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm very interested to hear what the fan base thinks about this. Everybody was gung-ho, thought maybe they were going to get, I'm sure you saw, when we had Steve Dangle on recently, Clarkie was going, we're going to get Zadorov and Tanev, and here's what the trade will be. And then the Canucks come along and, a fifth rounder and a third rounder. Geez, it's not a hefty price to pay. But hey, like you said, not only are there other GMs out there are other defensemen out there that will be available, but it's getting dire for the Leafs. That blue line, Giordano now out for a few weeks with a broken finger. At 40 years old, he was logging a ton of minutes. Like, they just cannot get any luck. I would like to say too, Sabby, like for everybody, and I know that we discussed this when the deals went down in the summer, let's all keep in mind, everybody was very gung-ho on Brad Treliving when he made his moves in the summer and brought in Domi and Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi's playing great now. Domi's improving. Ryan Reeves, there was, people sitting on the fence about that deal. We all know how I felt about it, but people loved the moves this guy made in the offseason.
Well, my question also goes to, how much did the player have a say in where he was going, or what was his agent doing? So there was no gung ho to say, no, it's got to be Toronto. You know what I mean? Holding out for Toronto till something was done. All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, it's Vancouver, away you go. Was there something in the contract that could have held them there in Calgary till they got to deal with Toronto? So is the magic of going to Toronto kind of starting to disappear for players?
I think the people have been saying that for a long time. I mean, outside of the guys that they brought in and drafted, they get John Tavares, but obviously, yeah, there's some question marks. And again, like, they're big guns. They're two biggest in Marner and Matthews of late, not playing very well. So it's kind of sticky situation right now for the Leafs, not only on the ice, but with their injuries off the ice as well. Steve, the hockey world for the last week and a bit has been dominated by this Corey Perry story. And man, oh man, we've seen some very, very ugly sides of society, and the very bottom of the barrel when it comes to the internet, in my opinion. Just viciously awful rumors flying around about Corey Perry, his teammate Connor Bedard, the young phenom, and a member of his family. We don't need to recount for everybody what the rumors are. You've all seen them unless you've been under a rock. It's been gross, frankly, with no one corroborating the story. The other day, the general manager, Kyle Davidson, comes out. He spoke for about 9 minutes. And basically said that they had to conduct an internal investigation. They found that Corey Perry, in their mind, broke part of the code of conduct that was in his player agreement in terms of the team's code of conduct, and they terminated his deal. And now Perry has 60 days to file a grievance, but on this date, Thursday, November 30th, he put a statement out basically saying he's sorry, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be doing that. Steve, just your whole, before we dig into what it looks like actually happened with Corey Perry, because it sounds like it was an alcohol-related incident at a team-sanctioned event. Before we dig into that, just your impression of this whole situation, because like I said, like, we saw some really gross stuff happening out there. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel very bad for Connor Bedard and his family. Like, to think this 18-year-old kid has had to deal with this already early in his career, it cannot sit too well with him.
Well, I mean, total disrespect to mom. Like, I mean, to even put that out there, and
Mrs. Perry, frankly, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, both sides of the family. Like, I mean, now I will say that from a media perspective, that there is no statement sent out right away to say that's not the issue. We can't say what it is, but that's not the issue. You know what I mean? There was a good 12 hours of internet churning before something was released. So in this day and age of immediacy, the least your communications department can do is release a statement saying, we have been made aware of rumors through social media. This is not what happened. We will release a statement. You know what I mean? To at least quell. Because even on my feed from friends, since I work in media, they were asking me questions about it and sending me all the tweets and the Facebook posts and everything like that. And I'm like, guys, you got to hold on here. Like, you can't jump to conclusions until you get, some facts. There were no facts at the time. It was all speculation. So you got to work a little quicker to stem those kinds of misinformation. But I mean, for that rumor to start, like, really, like, come on, a little respect for the human being.
Well, and that's something that, just we've seen again, doesn't tend to exist on the internet. A lot of people hiding behind avatars and eggheads. And, I know that people look like, I like to have a laugh too. Like, but this type of thing, and I know this sounds callous to some, because people will say, oh, well, like Connor Bedard, he's a pro athlete, he's going to make millions of dollars. Well, yeah, the kid has feelings, and he is a kid. Like, he's barely 18 years old in his first year, trying to enjoy and take in all of the thrills of being a rookie in the National Hockey League and being the next anointed big superstar that's going to push the sport into that next upper echelon in terms of US viewers. And this happens. And look, I'll just say, if rumors like that were flying around about my mother, and I'm a self-professed mama's boy, I'd be extremely upset, and it would affect my job performance. It would. On this big of a scale, like, people all over the place are tweeting about this heinous rumor. And it turns out that, as you said, Sabs, there's no facts. Nobody's got video, texts, photos. There's nothing to corroborate this. What it turns out is that Corey Perry has actually had to put a statement out where he has acknowledged that he has an alcohol problem. Basically, he cleared unconditional waivers, and he put a statement out on Thursday, November 30th, apologizing to his team, his family, and he reiterated, as Kyle Davidson did in his presser, that this incident had nothing to do with one of Corey Perry's teammates or their family members. Kyle Davidson was very upset during his presser. I felt bad for him. I agree with what you said, Sabby. Like, ideally, yes, come out and say this is not true, but maybe they were just wrapped up in this investigation. And keep in mind, we're talking about an organization here who has had a lot of egg on their face for very good reason in terms of the media and reporting out of that franchise. I think maybe they were just focused on getting this right. What's clear to me here is that Corey Perry needs some help. I hope that he gets it, because Frank Saravalli and a few other insiders basically confirmed the other night that they believe the incident stemmed from a team-run event before they went on a road trip. It might have even been on a road trip to Nashville. And there were team sponsors, season ticket holders, people like that associated with the team involved. And Corey Perry was involved in what they deemed to be a very inappropriate incident during this event. And it's cost him his contract. And I hope he gets help. And I hope that everybody that was spreading this rumor around, I hope you all had fun and laughing. You wouldn't have liked it if it was about your mothers. I hope they all get help too, because this is a really sad thing to see on so many fronts, Steve.
Yeah, and I mean, it's you touched on a very valid point about the organization itself and what it had just come out of over the last couple of years in the situation of the assault case that was very much in the spotlight for this team. And that goes back again to my point about trying to release a statement right away, because factually that social media post is not true. And you just came through an entire situation with the league and, everything like that. And hopefully other teams take note on this, that this isn't a sports related story, in the sense that it had nothing to do with goals and assists and you're not performing on the ice. This was a personal attack on a person, and involved people that didn't even have anything to do with it. Right. So, and it's just people trying to tarnish another person's reputation for no good reason whatsoever. And I think we have to be better than that.
Well, one would certainly hope. And I'll say this too, like, it doesn't surprise me that this type of thing happened with Corey Perry as the target of it, one of the targets. I understand that a lot of people don't like the guy and don't appreciate the way he plays the game. I understand that. But what's been clear to me and through people that I know in that league that I've spoken to about him over the years, going all the way back to his junior days in London, he's a very popular teammate, and he wouldn't keep getting contracts and playing well into he's 38 now, well into his almost 40s, if people didn't see value in having him around. And if he was a complete creepazoid, that would get around the league like this. The hockey world's so small. Everybody knows everybody. People in down to junior C know people in the NHL. We've got former NHLers coaching in junior C. Like, that's how small this is. Like, word gets around. And if this guy was such a terrible person and had pulled off, unseemly stunts like this that was rumored to have happened before, he wouldn't keep getting contracts. And I know there's some people out there that don't want to accept that and just think he's a dirt bag and whatever. Well, look, he's a person away from the ice. And I just don't think that this was fair for anybody. And I felt bad for the Blackhawks brass too. I felt bad for Kyle Davidson. He's trying to forge a new path forward. He looked really upset, Steve. Like he was near tears and was very upset. He obviously didn't address Bedard by name, but you could tell. And he said, I feel like I'm wearing this. Like, he felt terrible for this whole thing. It's so dumb. One of the weirdest things I've seen in a while.
Hockey is also family. Like, You've invited this family to be a part of the organization, and you're trying to give him the best foot forward so that he can excel and make a career out of the game that he loves so much. And then all of a sudden, something drags the family members in, and there was nothing you could do to protect them from that situation. That's an awful feeling.
It is an awful feeling, and I just hope that, the Bedards, the Perrys, everybody involved in this can kind of, stick together and move through this, and that they've got the proper supports there to help them in whatever way they need, because this is, nobody out there would like this if it was happening to their family. And I just feel that it's been very unfair on the kid. And I was just excited to continue watching him play hockey. And, if anything, I'm rooting for him even more now, because this is completely unfair to him and his family. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, as promised, we've got the voice of junior hockey in the region on. We've got to talk about some junior hockey. The Listowel Cyclones, they're red hot after a bit of a so-so start. They are flying up the standings. They're scoring a ton of goals. They're playing lockdown defense. We'll talk about them and their season so far heading toward Christmas. And of course, the PJHL Pollock Division as well. That's next. Myself and Steve Sabourin here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel, our friends over at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, and of course, the Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury, no Clarkey this week. He's a little under the weather, so we hope that maybe the Maple Leafs this weekend can lift his spirits a little bit, Clarkey. Just feel better, all right? It's going to be okay. It's a long season. How many years has he heard that now? But we do have a very special guest, and still joining me on the show after a great discussion about some NHL news in the first segment. It's time to focus on the Midwestern Ontario junior hockey scene. Our friend Steve Sabourin still with me. Sabby, man, there are a lot of great storylines popping up around junior hockey, and you and Johnny K have been busy on the CKNX airwaves. There's been a lot going on, man. Let's start with the Listowel Cyclones. Boy, have they just absolutely rushed up the standings and the league power rankings.
Yeah, so this week on the power rankings, they slid back a little bit, but they're the top Midwest team in the power rankings, sliding in at 4. They're currently sitting third in the Midwest Conference with 34 points, Stratford with 35, and Elmira with 36. But going over a couple of columns to the right, there's 2 stats that I think are more telling. Number one, Listowel has the best winning percentage based on their win-loss record at .739. That's 19 points better than number 1 place Elmira Sugar Kings. Listowel has 2 games in hand over Stratford and Elmira. The biggest stat, I think, really that tells the story is their goal differential. Their goal differential is sitting at 43. So they have 96 goals for, 53 against. They're tied with Elmira for scoring the most goals in the season so far in the Midwest. They're the best when it comes to goals against, and they have the best goal differential. So to me, that's a winning formula. If you're scoring more than the other team and stopping more than the other team, more than likely you're going to win. They are 10-0-1-1 in their last 12 games. When we called their game last Friday night against the KW Siskins, it went to a shootout. And not just to a shootout, they just about exhausted every player on each bench before they got a winner. They were diving into some defensemen before the winning goal was scored. They have played well. They're deep. They have great speed, good talent. And they also have what Johnny K likes to call sandpaper. They have those guys that can go in and kind of bump and grind in good spots. And I should say, too, when I talk about depth, when you looked at last Friday's loss to KW, they did not have Captain Carter Coombs in the lineup. They did not have Ben McRobbie, who's top 3 in their scoring list. They did not have Cam McNeven, who's a leader on the ice and one of those sandpaper guys that can drive it. So you're missing 3 of your top guys in the lineup, and it took a shootout to beat you. So I think they're in tremendous shape. Now, they did lose Dixon Grimes to a lower body injury in that game, and he did not play on Sunday in Stratford's win. Riley Arts was the goaltender of choice, and that's not a bad player to have as your backup. Both goaltenders have been phenomenal. So Listowel has a bit of a break this weekend. Their only game is Sunday, and they got the 1-game weekend. So we'll see how they come out of that. They should be able to scoop up the win, and then they're moving forward. So they've been a pleasure to watch. They skate hard, and I think the coaching staff has to be pretty pleased. They even increased their power play percentage by several points from the beginning of November to now. They're clicking around just over 17% on the power play, which was much better than their 10% back at the beginning of the season.
You know, and that ties into kind of what we talked about earlier. You know, when I did the season preview for CKNX, chatting with General Manager Trent McClement, he was extremely excited about all the signings that they made and the big offensive additions that they made, including a couple local products. You know, headlined by a guy like Harrison Muhlenstein, who has not looked out of place as a junior B rookie. He looks fantastic, but they made some big additions. And then when we checked in with him, and it was an episode where we had him on this show, and he also featured on the OHA This Week, the great pregame show that plays before all the CKNX junior hockey games on Friday nights. He was, you know, very optimistic and just kind of, I don't know that he was necessarily calming people down, because I think everybody could see how good this roster was, but he was just preaching a bit of patience. Like, wait, just wait. We're going to get firing here. That was at about the 14 game mark, I want to say. And sure enough, like you said, they're now tied for the most goals in their conference. They have by far the best defense. They're 53 goals allowed, as a matter of fact. That is tied among the entire GOJHL for the second best total. The Fort Erie Meteors have allowed 53. The only team in the entire GOJHL that has allowed fewer goals than Fort Erie and Listowel's 53 are the St. Catharines Falcons with 47. And they played, I believe, a 1 game less than the Cyclones as we record this, Steve. And I mean, look, I don't want to overreact here, but we kind of looked at each other when they were making all those big trade announcements and signing announcements in the summer. You and I were kind of side-eyeing each other in conversation, like, this roster, like, I don't want to get everybody thinking this is 2017 and 18 all over again, but the similarities are there in terms of the depth of the roster, the variation of players they have. You mentioned it, skilled offensive players, good puck-moving defensemen, 2 great goalies, good sandpaper and grit. Like, the Cyclones can play it any way you want. there is reason to be very excited about this group right now, Sabby.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other things about this team that's really starting to take shape. Number one, their secondary scoring. They have 12 players who are double-digit in points. When's the last time you saw this team have 12 players with 10 points or more, right? So there is no, hey, if we get by their first line, we don't have to worry. There's none of that. Secondly, their rookies are playing absolutely phenomenal. Brady Smith, who's a centerman, is averaging almost a point a game, and that's phenomenal. They also have Harrison Muhlenstein, who, yes, he has junior C experience with Kincardine last season, but first year at the junior GOJHL level, he has 11 points and in a kind of a fourth line role. And the other guy I want to mention is Teague Vader, who has played phenomenal on the back end for the Listowel Cyclones. He of course, wearing number 18. Not the goal-scoring defenseman that they have, but can he move the puck and skate himself out of situations? Doesn't feel any pressure. And of course, he's the younger brother of Tate Vader, who played with the Cyclones last year, Sault Ste. Marie draft pick. They're having a perfect storm right now where their veterans are doing what they need to do, and then their rookies are coming in, filling the roles they need to, and helping the team move along.
Yeah, and Vader, I mean, I've been so impressed with him. I'm glad you brought him up. And of course, yes, his older brother Tate impressing people in the Sioux. I'm excited for them to roll through Guelph sometime soon to have a quick visit with him. I know he's been impressing the coaches down there, and it's a great program for him to be a part of, which again is, on a quick side note, Sabby, is just another kind of feather in the cap, if you will, of Listowel. Not only look, we all know that they've loaded up. They're trying to win again. This is a proud franchise, and they've set a high standard, especially after what we saw in 2017 and 18 with those great championship runs. But they really pride themselves too on being a great development organization, and really the GOJHL prides itself on being a great developmental league. And to have another guy come out of this program and go to OHL success, I mean, that's really darn impressive for easily, I would say, the small, if they're not the smallest, they're easily bottom three in terms of market size for the GOJHL. For this program to continue to have players reach heights like that is extremely impressive.
No, absolutely. And, it just, I think, shines a spotlight on the tremendous work ethic, the tremendous attention to detail, and the fact that the Listowel Cyclones don't look at themselves as a quote-unquote small market team. This is an organization that puts development ahead of everything else, and will do everything it can to help a player move forward if those situations are come up as an opportunity. And, it even works outside the sport of hockey, with the example of Danny Scott and Alex McGilvery going to represent Canada at the World Softball Men's U18 World Cup. So it's a phenomenal situation. I do also want to touch on the goaltending. I think it's very important that we have to give credit where credit's due. And, Dixon Grimes is having a phenomenal season, up to the point where he got injured last weekend. 2.79 goals against average, 8 wins out of his 13 games. It's one shutout. He's doing really, really well. But here's Riley Arts coming in. And the 05 has the best goals against average across the entire GOJHL in his 11 games with a 1.51. And he has the third best save percentage at .935. So the only two guys ahead of him in that situation are the two goaltenders from St. Catharines. If you're putting up numbers like that, you're going to give your chance a really good chance to win night after night. Now, the trick to all of this, though, is we are coming up to some deadlines, Ryan, and we all know in December there's a lot of things that shift between the junior clubs, and who's going to make the improvements that will give them an opportunity to move forward. And again, sometimes your players are your best recruiters, and Listowel's already has been the beneficiary of bringing in some new players based on where guys go to school and who they talk to and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if Listowel has one more move up their sleeve to shore up more than likely their defensive core. They are so deep up at forward right now that you'd have to think that the blue line would be their one key area that they maybe want to add one more guy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, where do you think they need to make that improvement? And you kind of answered, and I agree. I think that it's the old hockey adage. You can never have too many defensemen. And I think that if there was an opportunity where they could go find preferably likely a veteran defenseman, maybe a 19-year-old who is, maybe not getting necessarily the ice time they want with a junior A program, potentially another junior B program, who knows? And look at the recruiting they did over the summer. And I mean, you need to look no further than their superstar up front in Luke Uhrig, who comes in and gets to play with his brother again. Him and Mason, they form a potent offensive duo. 33 points already in 23 games for Luke, and a guy with junior A experience as well out west. Former Elmira Sugar King already knew the league. That's part of that recruiting process. And if they can get a guy like that to come in his overage year and settle into this program and believe in what was being sold to him, I have no doubt that Listowel is, Trent McClement's probably working some phones right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the phone as we speak.
I think we have to put a star beside that, though, too, Ryan, is it has to absolutely be the perfect fit.
Yeah.
They're in a position where they don't have to go, okay, he's 90% of what we want. It's going to have to be the perfect fit, because I talked about this with Johnny K before our last broadcast, because we're talking about the shake and shuffle. Are they going to make a move? Are they not? But it's got to be a fit, and it's got to work chemistry-wise. It's got to be a person that fits with the dressing room, that will buy into the program and isn't just in for one run and then out the next year. It has to be perfect for them to make that, pull the trigger on that sort of move.
One last note before we move on to looking at the PJHL Pollock Division. I'm curious your thoughts. It seemed obvious when they did this, but in your estimation, with the way that the team has drastically improved and started to cohesively come together over the last number of weeks here, and how this factors into the development of the players, how big of a difference do you think it's made having Holden Lansink, easily, I don't even think arguably, the best Cyclone of all time, on the bench alongside another veteran guy like Luke Israel, alongside Jesse Cole on that bench? How big of a deal do you think it is to these guys having those dudes on the bench that literally just finished their junior B playing careers not long ago, have both got some great coaching experience already, but are still young enough that they can directly relate to these guys and know exactly what the program's all about? How key has that been?
I think it's been very key, and I'll take it one step further. I think one of the other points added to that is splitting the GM and coaching responsibilities. Because we know in the years past that Jesse Cole has worn both hats as GM and coach. I think allowing Jesse just to focus on the coaching has allowed him to really press on that issue. And then adding Luke Israel and Holden Lansink to the mix has really created an opportunity to have a flow of communication between coach and player that works really well. And it's interesting when you're watching the bench during game nights, it's Holden and Luke that are doing a lot of the talking to the lines, right? Jesse will intermittently jump through the last couple of times I've seen anyway. but he's more watching the overall flow of the game, and then is able to take that and break it down in between periods, so to speak. But I think it's given Jesse a lot more breathing room to do what he can do on the ice, and let Trent worry about the players and contacting them and everything else. And don't forget, Trent was on the bench too. He's also a fantastic coach, leading Mount Forest to a Pollock Division championship, and then time in St. Mary's, and then last year with Listowel. So they have a great pedigree. And then you throw Corey Dietz in there as scout, and he certainly has his voice heard. Another great guy with junior experience. So Ryan, I mean, everything's lining up. They have the tools. It's just, can they keep the foot on the gas and don't take a breather until it's all said and done?
I think it's interesting, too, that all these guys that are kind of in the front office all have coaching experience. Dietzy, of course, running lots of hockey schools and coaching kids, and obviously Trent with his great resume. So I think that actually helps, because they understand what Jesse's trying to do, and Jesse understands why they're doing the things that they're doing in terms of the recruitment. And Dietzy has his voice heard. I'm not surprised to hear that. Yeah, he has his voice heard.
And they're all on the same page, right? They're all on the same program, and all the way up to Randy Petrie, of course, the director of hockey ops. They all have the communication doors open. So we'll watch them through December. They'll get the break December 29th, sort of idea for that week, and then back on it January 5th. So we are at the rink the 22nd in Listowel, and then January 5th for the returning game into the new year.
Going to be a lot of fun. You can listen to all those games, by the way, including the Pollock Division coverage Friday nights on CKNX AM 920, CKNX.ca with Steve and Johnny K. And I will say as well, and it'll be something to bring up depending how the spring goes. But you'll recall a conversation we had toward the end of the PJHL coverage last year in the playoffs when Mount Forest was playing Stainer again. And Corey Dietz was there, of course, scouting Dylan Shimanowski, who's having a great season in Junior B, when he was a star on that Mount Forest Patriots team. And as we left the rink that night, we were talking to Dietzy a little bit, just, what are you guys trying to do? Big off season coming up, and we've got a very good rapport with Dietzy. That's why we can kind of poke fun at each other. And he got very serious with us, remember? And he looked at us and he pointed at us and he said, "We want to win. We have to get back to winning." And I went, wow, okay. And Dietzy's a very affable guy, but he takes things very seriously, and he got very pointed and said, "We want to win." And that has stuck with me. And then through the summer, we saw the moves and we went, they do want to win. And it's going to be an exciting second half.
It's not just about winning, Ryan. It's about the way they win.
Yes.
And I'll go back to the start of the month of November. And they had a game against the KW Siskins, and it was tied 3-3 going into the third period. Listowel had a lead earlier on. They let it slip away, and KW scored within 30 seconds of the third period starting to make it 4-3. Listowel did not fold. In the ensuing face-off, they went down and scored the tying goal. And then they scored again to make it 5-4. To me, that was, they understand how to win now. When they face adversity, they don't fold back. They don't take dumb penalties. They skate it out. And sometimes you get snake bitten, you hit a couple posts, nothing you can do about that. You shake it off and go to the next round. So it's the way they're winning right now that is setting the table for success down the road. They just have to remember to keep doing it.
Absolutely. And that was evident when they were struggling to score early in the season. They didn't hang their heads, and those veteran guys that they brought in, it's made a load of difference. It really has. Let's take a look at the Pollock Division. And Sabby, for the third straight year in a row, it is gas pedal down for the Hanover Barons, and they continue to pace this division. They've been to the final 2 straight years and lost both times to the Mitchell Hawks and, of course, to the Mount Forest Patriots. Is the third time going to be the charm here? Can anyone stop the big bad Barons? Because, man, they're having another sensational season. And I know that Pete Irwin and everybody involved down there, you heard him when we talked to him in our preseason previews. He is dead set on getting this finished. They want Hanover to be a title town again. Can anyone stop them?
Well, again, they're giving themselves a great opportunity. They have a very deep team. They were able to fill the goaltending void that was left by Riley McCabe when he aged out. Again, deep defense. The guys that have been there for 3 years, they're chomping at the bit to win. Brady Anderson has everybody again on the same page. Interesting enough, we did a game in Hanover with the Kincardine Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago. It ended up in a tie. But Brady Anderson said to me before the game, he said, because of the start they had, they were able to start trying some different philosophies on the ice. So they weren't doing the same thing all the time, and teams would adapt easily to those situations. So over the last couple of weeks, I truly believe they've been working different systems and really haven't, I don't want to say stuck to what's won, but trying to figure some other things out that might get the other teams thinking and create more winning opportunities for Hanover. So, they've set the table very well. Brody LeBlanc.
My God.
That is going to be the thorn in Hanover's side.
In everyone's side, Steve.
In everyone's side, but I mean specifically when you're the top team, he has 54 points in the PJHL. That's 20 points more than the next teammate in Matt McClellan. It's just amazing. And when you look at the all teams, again, Brody LeBlanc is number one across the province, 3 points ahead of the next closest player, which is from North Middlesex. So Brody LeBlanc is having a fantastic season. The other thing Mount Forest did was they went out and got a veteran goaltender, a guy that has OHL experience with the Erie Otters, I believe. So the Mount Forest Patriots are keeping pace. Now, they play 2 more games than the Barons right now and trail by a point. But you cannot count out the Mount Forest Patriots because, again, they have veterans on that team that have won a PJHL championship. So they know what it takes. Then it starts to break away from there, and you go to Kincardine. They're starting to slide back a little bit.
But what a season they put together, Steve. Like, they were in second place for a good chunk. Like, really, really nice season so far.
And they have veteran players on that team and all guys that have come up through the Kincardine minor system. Jeff Alkenbrack has come in and done a wonderful job.
He has.
Their biggest issue, though, is they don't have that breakaway scoring punch. So when you look at Hanover and Mount Forest, they both have over 90 goals for throughout the season. Kincardine's goal differential is 7, 68 goals for, 61 goals against. They need to pick up their scoring if they're going to give themselves a chance. So that would be the Achilles heel for Kincardine at this point. The thing about it is they have guys that can. They just need to keep working on it and not get into a situation where they're chasing the puck all the time. So lots of time to work on that, though, of course. Walkerton, what a phenomenal turnaround for them. Sitting right now in 4th place, and they've been right there. They've given Hanover some runs for sure throughout the season. They have a very energetic organization. Chad Haggett, again, great. They went out and they got their goaltender to give them veteran experience.
Vance Myers, excellent.
Exactly. At, championship pedigree there. Walkerton situation, young defense corps.
Yep.
Right. So they are possibly the youngest, maybe second youngest ahead of Goderich, but of, young defense corps. They're going to have to, which is odd because usually Walkerton has a very veteran defense corps, at least a couple 20-year-olds back there. But so that's kind of their situation. So they'll have to watch that. Wingham Ironmen coming in fifth spot so far. Scoring for them has really been an issue this season. They have a great defense corps and veteran experience in net with Garrett Gawley. But, when you lose 4 overagers from last year, including Kyle Stanberry, Matt Tolton, that is going to impact your club, and they have not been able to replace that. Again, they still have kids on their team who are 18. They still have possibly 3 years left of junior. So the Wingham Ironmen will have to keep working ahead. Mitchell Hawks basically in a rebuilding situation after 2 straight finals appearances and one ending up with a win. So they're continuing to work ahead. And again, they had a bit of the coaching staff change with Louis Livingston hanging up the clipboard and Holden Lansing moving on to the Listowel Cyclones. Fergus Whalers, this is, I don't want to say a unique situation. It's a new team situation. Had a great conversation with Jason Byer a couple of weeks ago when we did our game in Arthur. By the way, everybody says hello, Mr. Drury.
Yes.
Ryan Drury, Arthur native. So the trick to the Fergus Whalers, what Jason was telling me, was that they weren't trying to just build a team to be competitive this year. They were trying to set the table so they can continue to build to be more competitive over the next year. So it's a really mixed bag because you have to have a balance of veteran plus young players plus local players. And again, really important for these players to come together and buy into the system. They've got a ton of talent. What I saw in the game against Mitchell, just a little bit of timing issues. You can tell these players haven't played with each other for 3 years. You know what I mean? It just the flow, their systems, just maybe the pass just a little behind them or ahead of them. And these players have the skill to make those passes. So it's a building in process. But I can tell you they've done an excellent job in setting up the organization. They're really enthusiastic. They're giving back to the community, and it's a real focus to get this going. Goderich Flyers, again, very young team, basically starting with a new crowd. Even their re-signees, again, 18-year-olds who have 3 years left in their junior career if they go all the way to 21. So it's going to be a work in progress for them. But they do have some skill, and every single team has told me you can't go into a game against Goderich and take a break or else they'll come back and sting you. And we've seen that already this season. The Flyers coming out with a couple of wins and a couple of ties and keeping things close at times throughout their contests. So that's a little bit of the division in a nutshell, Ryan. I will say coming down the stretch, Walkerton and Fergus are 2 teams that some of the teams up above them wouldn't want to face in an elongated playoff series for situations, physicality. They could just come and, bite you at the end, so to speak, surprise you. So those right now would be the toughest teams to face in a playoff round.
Yeah, they take a chunk out of you. And of course, the Pollock division continues to be, in my opinion, the toughest division in the PJHL. They're one of 4, so that's half the divisions in the league where only one team at the very bottom of the standings doesn't have double-digit points. All the other teams in the division do, and that's really, really impressive, and it's going to be a great battle to the finish. Will Hanover finally get it done? Can Mount Forest stick their nose in it again? Just a lot of winning there recently. Can a team come in and surprise young Walkerton with that great veteran goaltender? There's a lot of storylines. Quickly before we end this segment, Steve, we've seen a lot of good players come through this league, and I know that I can't speak to the old time days of, back when Jim McGilvery and all those guys and Johnny K were playing in the league. So this is recency bias. I'd love your opinion on this. We've seen a lot of great Mount Forest Patriots over the last number of years, a lot of winning, obviously. I remember Clayton Holscher breaking the goal scoring record, 44 goals. That was insane. There's been a lot of good players come through there, including Vance Meyer, recently. I have to say that I think the best player I've ever seen in this league was Aaron Armstrong. I think he's on another planet compared to every other player that's ever played in the league. However, I think that Brody LeBlanc is putting himself into a conversation with what he's been up to since he joined the Mount Forest Patriots and what he's doing this year, where he's kind of starting to elevate himself up into outer space as well, Steve.
He's a 200-foot player. He plays both sides of the ice. He back checks. He's into the rush. He's on the power play. He's on the penalty kill. He's physical. He'll throw
coach's
hits.
Dream.
Yeah. So he is by far I think the best player we've seen over the last few years. But I think the one thing that and I'm going to try to phrase this so it sounds correct, but it's one of those things where whenever Armstrong stepped on the ice, you were looking for magic. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, something amazing is going to happen here, right? You got the little spider sense. And so Brody's not quite there because he can be neutralized at times. It just seemed that Aaron could never be caught or stopped. Although, with that being said, there was the series against the Mount Forest Patriots where they did shadow him and actually did a pretty good job. And Mount Forest ended up beating Wingham in that series. But beyond that, it was just amazing. There have been some other great players, like even on the defensive side of things. Go way back into the Walkerton Hawks days. They had a couple of defensemen that you thought they were playing on two broken legs. Carden, my first year up here, had a leader by the name of Nick Quaid, who was just magic in his own zone and was a huge leader on that Kincardine team when they went back-to-back division championships. And so there's been a lot of great players, but what Brody LeBlanc has done coming in, and you have to remember too, it's a little bit of a different conversation in the sense that Armstrong spent his entire career with the Wingham Ironmen. Brody LeBlanc will have 2 years in the PJHL.
Well, Steve, there's certainly been a lot of great players that have played in the league over the years. And what Brody LeBlanc's doing has been pretty special. But, Army, if you're watching, you're still my guy. You're still my guy, Army. We got to have Army on the show again sometime soon. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, the Couch Potato of the Week brought to you by Conway Furniture. Sabby and I are going to pick one next on Instigating. Back to wrap things up here on Instigating with Clarkie and Drury, brought to you by Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel. Our friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC, where the deals are hot. Remember that. And of course, our friends over at the Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury, Steve Sabourin, Clarkie away this week, wrapping things up. And Steve, you've been notified, as we do here. We like to end the show with our Couch Potato of the Week. Can be a positive thing, someone who deserves to kick back and relax, or it could be a negative thing, someone in the sports world who just spent too much time on the couch and didn't get the job done. You're the guest. I will defer to you. Who have you selected as your Conway Furniture Couch Potato?
Putting me on the spot. So usually I like to be a positive guy, Ryan.
Yes, you do.
I love to give props where props are due. But this is going to be the couch potato session of please don't do this again. And I'm going to go with Bills fans.
No.
Fans. Okay, yes, it was a horse collar tackle and a missed call in a game against Philadelphia. I will not dispute the fact. However, people, you missed 2 chip shot field goals, not to mention a number of drop balls and an opportunity to win the game several times. You blew what was a 10-point lead at halftime. One horse collar call wasn't the problem. It was the problem of not being able to finish what you started in a game. Bills fans, go take a seat on the couch and stop it.
Steve Sabourin taking a shot at all of Upper Western New York. Well, and hey, Sabby, keep in mind, at the end of that game, they had a timeout left and they wasted it trying to freeze the kicker. They would have had like 18 seconds left with a timeout and Josh Allen cooking. So that was a goofy call by Sean McDermott too, whose job, might be in jeopardy. That's a great one. And we've been cooking the Bills for a while now. Josh Allen.
I mean, they could end up with a losing record. I mean, they go to Kansas City and Dallas, right? I mean, it's not looking good.
It's not promising at 6-6 as we record this. My couch potato, I'm also going to, for I believe the second week in a row, also, I'm going to take a positive stance here. And look, I don't talk about it much, but I've got to do, what I really want to do is highlight one particular guy who's really sparked this, but it's my Guelph Storm, the boys who I call the action for. 4 straight wins as we record this, heading into another big weekend. And man, oh man, highlighted by a wild Battle of Highway 7, the first edition of the year, last Saturday against the Kitchener Rangers, down 5-2 in the second period. Captain Braden Bowman puts the team on his back and scores his first career OHL hat trick in what ended up being an 8-6 final for the Storm in one of their most impressive games I've seen this group put together in a couple years. It was fantastic, but it was all sparked by a man from Sweden, and his name is Vilmer Ulriksson, a 4th-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks, fought for the first time in his career against Big Roman Schmidt of the Rangers. He clocked him. Then he had the OHL Play of the Week. Go look it up on the OHL Twitter feed with a one-handed power assist to Jet Luchenko in that Rangers game. And he follows it up this week. Producer Adam, you've got it teed up here with a gorgeous overtime breakaway winner against the Mississauga Steelheads, who have been one of the surprise teams of the season, that young group in Missy. Watch Big Vilmer, 6'6", come in and put the dangles down on the Steelheads. This kid's hot, and what a find he has been, scouted playing over in his home country of Sweden by the Canucks, a 4th rounder with 6'6" frame. He's going to be well over 200 pounds when he fills out, and he's got mitts like that. And again, I'd stress for anybody, go look at that OHL Play of the Week. He had the one-handed assist. It was beautiful. Vilmer Ulriksson, and really the whole Storm team right now, you are my very biased Couch Potato of the Week, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture. We thank them very much. Hey, Conway Furniture, Sabby, you know this. Highway 86, east end of Listowel. Go in there. You need a new couch. Christmas time, they've got deals coming up. You need a new love seat. They're the people you go see. And you know what? You know what's the best part about my friends over there at Conway Furniture? The prices you see include HST and delivery, which is fantastic. You can also visit our friends, including Clarkie. If you don't have a rep, you can call up our buddy Clarkie over at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC. They got a lot of great sales on still on 2023 models. You need a new vehicle for the winter. You want some more, 4-wheel drive power to get you through these icy roads. You go see our friends at Larry Hudson Chevrolet Buick GMC. And of course, our friends at the Listowel Squash Courts. Sabby, I know you're a squash aficionado too. So you want to go over there and have a great time. It's easy to sign up. It's easy to use, 24/7 access to the facility. You call our friend Al over at the Listowel Squash Courts. You can sign up through their Facebook page as well. Thanks so much, Sabby, for doing this, man. It's going to be a great second half of the local junior hockey year. So it's been great to have you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And so I just learned something from what you just said. Clarkie isn't it's not that he's not available. It's that he fell asleep on the Conway couch again, and he just didn't get up in time.
Absolutely. Clarkie, you are our collective Conway Furniture Couch Potato of the Week. We'll be back next week. Clarkie will be back here. That's Steve Sabourin. Remember, listen to CKNX Jr Hockey Friday nights right into the playoffs. And when the playoffs start, they'll be on a lot more than on Fridays. CKNX AM 920, CKNX.ca. You can actually find that as well on the iHeartRadio app. For all of us here, producer Adam, Clarkie, Sabby, I'm Ryan Drury. We'll be back next week with more instigating.